Welcome to our beginners module for Canva. Here we'll have a series of chapters where we'll look through some of the basics, including the interface, how to work with templates, and also standard editing procedure that we have that will tie in nicely with some of the design fundamentals we're going to cover elsewhere. So to jump straight in, we've got Canva open here. We go to canva.com. And if you're already logged in on your account and you've created an account, whether you have a free or paid account, you can jump straight through to this page. Here we have a series of templates across the top, design presets that can be broken down into multiple categories. And we can just select each category to choose whether we want a video presentation, mock-ups for printed products, or just our standard marketing material or documentation. There's lots to choose from here, so we're going to go and jump straight in with some digital marketing content, and we're going to click on the option to create a poster. However, before we jump in that, if you've already got an active Canva account, you can see we've got some files here for previous projects that we've been using for training in the past. But we're going to be focusing on new designs, and one thing I'll say is this is a beginner level course, so if you're already familiar with Canva and you want to jump into some of the more advanced techniques and tricks that we have in store, you can skip this entire module and jump in at a later stage. But let's crack on. I'm going to click on Poster, and now we are loading up an empty canvas ready to go. So we're not going to delve in with too much more in this chapter, but one thing we will do is have a look at some of the starting templates. So we can flick through some of the options that are suggested here. Oops, clicked on that by accident, but we'll come back to that shortly. And we can flick through some of the options that we have available in each of the chapters. So if you click on one and it's the wrong template, don't panic, it won't stack them up on top of each other. As you can see, it's got rid of the first template as we add in the second. So every time we switch to a new template, it clears the canvas and changes it around. That means that you can play with a number of different options before you settle on a starting template that you want to work with. As part of this course, we'll be showing how you can create your own bespoke designs without the need for templates. But we have to start somewhere. One of the challenges you'll find with templates is the amount of content that's displayed on them. Here, for example, we've got a template that we could change all of this content. However, the step 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got a finite amount of space that we can add our content into. Go with just step 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all of a sudden, our content's going to look a little thin on the ground. Vice versa, if we were to put a lot of content in, we're going to end up with content spilling over the edge or reduced to such a small size that it is almost illegible on the final design. I've just got my Grammarly extension popping up there. I better leave that running. There we go. So here's an example where we've got step 1 through till 4, and they're looking a little bit empty there. So we have to still manipulate templates a lot of the time when we're working with them. So we could, in this case, select all of the text and then bump up the font size. Now there's another issue here. Now we've increased the font size, we can see that the gaps between them aren't consistent. So we may need to then adjust accordingly, so I could stack them up. And adjust them by eye. Or use some of the smart guides available. So now we've got them all together. This is where we could select 3 items and then hold Shift and down, and then count the number of times we're entering. So I then select those two and go Shift, and then the down arrow, or down cursor, 1, 2, 3. Again, Shift, down cursor, 1, 2, 3. So these are examples of when we're working with templates of the type of obstacles that we need to overcome. And now we have a design that's starting to take shape. If I wanted to switch to another template, of course I can. And I might pick a simple one to go with, which is this quote. At this stage, I could maybe get rid of some of this background and swap it out with a photo. So this is where I can go to Photos, choose from the stock library available. And as we can see, because that template was selected, it's dropped it straight in there. We don't want that. We want to keep a solid outline. So what you can do is drag the photo over top of the background. Or we can go to the background option and choose pre-existing patterns, textures and photos. There's no right or wrong. This is your design. But it just shows the range of options that we have available. Of course, we can change the color of this template and also the color of this backdrop to a point. That's not quite working as we want, so we can then switch it to a different photo or texture. Or as I said, go back to our Photos tab and then choose a photo that we want. Lots of options available, also lots of choice in terms of how we want it to be displayed. We've got an overlay here that I've just added in. So we're not going to dwell too much more in this chapter. This is just to give you an idea of how Canva can work. In the coming chapters, we're going to have a look at some of these tabs in more detail and then show you how we can customize starting templates to match your requirements for your project.